We'd like to resume the hearing on the excise tax on automobiles to be taken up today. Again, for House Bill 5636 and Senate Bill 1408 by the Senate President. Maybe it's been some time since we met. Just to recap, the House has amended the original tax package as proposed in the Senate bill also, proposing an additional fifth bracket or fifth tier, and the industry players seem to have united behind the 7 tiers. Please correct me if I'm wrong, no? And there seems to be some kind of agreement among the resource persons that hybrid vehicles should be given some kind of incentive. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. So let's pick up from there, and this is probably the last hearing we'll have before finalizing the bill. So any last requests, comments, opinions, please, let's put it on record, preferably on paper, parang talagang hindi makalimutan. Again, as usual, we'll give the floor first to the DOL, but first to recognize the presence of Senator Nancy Binay, who's been very hardworking in attending our hearings, and we'll ask the committee secretary to recognize some of the important guests present. Thank you for coming, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Senator Angara and Senator Binay. Our guests for today's public hearing are as follows: representing the Department of Finance, Undersecretary Carl Kenrick Chua. To represent the Bureau of Internal Revenue, we have the Chief of the Excise Large Taxpayers, Ms. Marilu Baltes. Representing the Bureau of Customs, we have Attorney Lyndon De Los Santos, the Acting Chief, Ruling and Research Division. We have also the presence of the Executive Director of the National Tax Research Center, Trinidad A. Rodriguez. To represent the Land Transportation Office, we have Attorney Romeo Vera Cruz, the Executive Director of LTO. Representing the Department of Energy, we have Mr. Jesus Anunciacion, the Assistant Director, Energy Utilization Management Bureau. To represent the Road Board Secretariat, we have the Chief Staff of the Executive Director in the person of Mr. Jose Antonio Aguas, together with their Comptroller, Mr. Edgardo Conchu. From the private sector, we have the President of the Car Assemblers and Manufacturers, in the person of Attorney Romel Gutierrez. We have also the President of the Philippine Parts Makers Association, Mr. Ferdinand Raquel Santos. From Chevrolet, we have Attorney Christian Herman, the Associate Legal Counsel. Representing the Ford Philippines, we have the Assistant Vice President for Government Corporate Affairs, Ms. Josephine Gonzalez. To represent the Isuzu Philippines Corporation, we have the Head Government Relation, Mr. Joseph Bautista. Representing the Mitsubishi Motors Philippine Corporation, we have the First Vice President and Corporate Secretary, Mr. Dante Santos. From the Berjaya Auto Philippines, Mazda, Mr. David Makasadja, the Director of Mazda. And to represent the Electric Vehicles Association of the Philippines, we have Mr. Romelwan and Mr. Roberto Cruz, the Executive Director of the EBAP. To represent the Federation President of Ayala Transport Terminal, we have Mr. Rizalino Villarasa. And representing the Sentro ng mga Magkakaisa at Progresibong Manggagawa, the Secretary General Joshua Mata. At the moment, those are present. Honorable Chair Angara. Sir,
Thank you, Committee Secretary. Yusek Chua, would you care to add something new to the discussion that you haven't already said before?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair, Senator Angara, Senator Binay, fellow stakeholders. If I may, Mr. Chair, be given a few minutes just to summarize the main points, because as you mentioned, this is the last hearing before the synthesis. I would like to...
the automobiles aspect.
Yes.
Meaning we need to wrap up on the sugars, sweetened beverages,
just
and the
on
other
the
aspect.
automobile, indeed. If I may show you some slides while I speak. There are 6 key messages that I would like to highlight and give a few more words on around these key messages. The first is we would like to request all the stakeholders to look at this tax reform as a package, particularly to put into context the automobile excise as an intrinsic part of...
Sorry to interrupt, just to acknowledge the arrival of the Minority Leader, Senator Drilon.
Okay. Good morning, Senator Drilon. The second message is that it is really designed to be progressive. The third is it can help reduce pollution. The fourth is it may help also address congestion. The fifth, which is I think important to note, is that this excise hike, when treated as a package together with the rest of the reform, will not likely increase or rather decrease demand nor cripple the automotive industry. And finally, we strongly believe that as a package, the comprehensive automotive resurgence strategy or program, or the CARS program, will not be adversely affected by the proposed increase in the automobile excise. Just to give you an example, one of the key messages that we have been saying is for everyone to look at this tax reform as a package. While it is true that we are raising the excise tax on a number of products, particularly automobile, the truth of the matter is once we have done the math properly, once we have recognized the data, and once we have recognized that the income tax reduction is far bigger than the combined effect of the oil, VAT, inflationary effect, and even the sugar-sweetened beverage, we actually see significant gains on the net by the taxpayers up to the 99th percentile. The next slide shows that a buyer...
I wasn't able to get the number 6. Can I see it again?
Sorry.
CARS program, okay.
Yes, sir. Just to give you some examples, in the next slide, the gains from the lower personal income tax regime are actually more than enough to offset the additional expense from higher oil prices, car loan payments, and inflation. This graph is the example of an actual household based on the family income and expenditure survey and their purchases and income level, showing that even if the automobile excise would increase, the inflation would adjust by up to 0.9 percentage points. Minimal increase in sugar-sweetened beverage, the oil and the VAT impact. The average buyer of a Vios will still be able to take home a net of 16,000 pesos, precisely because the increase in the take-home pay from the lower personal income tax is more than enough to offset these small increases.
Sorry to interrupt now, but how did you arrive at the average Vios buyer and Innova buyer? Did you get information from the dealers and kind of you got information?
We actually used the example of a call center agent family with a 21,000 monthly salary.
You assume that he is the average Vios buyer.
Yes, and in fact we actually talked to some of the banks to understand what is the profile. Even a buyer of Innova, let's say a middle manager or a supervisor or a public sector doctor with a salary of around 60,000 would gain 50,000 additional take-home pay, and this would be more than enough to compensate some of the increases in the VAT or the automobile and so on. So that is the first message, Mr. Chair. As for my second message, this tax reform on automobile is really designed to be progressive. We have not adjusted the taxes for automobile since 2004. And we think that as part of this mandate to arrive at a more equitable tax system, we need to adjust so that the rich pay more or contribute more than the non-rich. And this is precisely why we have maintained the 4 brackets in the automobile excise tax system. And I'm also happy to report that we have really many supporters. We did FGD and national survey and found out that because 80% of the people do not own cars, they very much see this reform as a very equitable measure, especially when given the context of congestion.
Or the other way of putting it, since 80% do not own cars, 80% do not really care about these taxes to cars. They cannot afford cars in the first place. So whether or not you increase the taxes on cars is of no moment to 80%.
Mr. Minority Leader, they, if I may share, they also told us that they would like to see the tax system become more progressive. That is why they think this is a good measure.
But we should ask how many of those 80% dream of owning a car.
Yes, they actually...
I think eventually our long purpose should be for them not to dream of owning a car, but to dream of riding public transport. Or at least have that option providing public transport.
They-
But right now, it's not available to them. So,
Correct.
what is the strategy in earmarking funds for public transport to increase acceptability of the taxes?
Well, we actually proposed in the bill to earmark everything that we collect from the tax reform to 5 key spending areas, including public transport.
Everything, huh?
Yes, everything.
So,
only
the whole
to,
tax reform is earmarked.
only to 5 key areas.
Yeah.
The earmarking will be done in the General Appropriations Act.
Correct.
So, you know, that's a fallacy that you say it's earmarking, because you will not earmark it in the substantive law, and you will try to earmark it in the General Appropriations Act, which is subject to all kinds of considerations when we get to the GAA. So
Yes.
that is misleading.
If
Ano,
I,
how about the specific earmarking?
There is no specific earmarking in the substantive law, is there?
if I may,
There's a little bit. There's a little bit. There's a little bit for the transfer.
yes, if,
That's why I was a little bit thrown off by your statement that the whole thing is earmarked. Because for me, the only earmarking is the ones for the transfers.
if I may, Mr. Chair, Minority Leader,
But to answer the question, how about how available it would be to specific earmarking in this measure?
okay, in this,
That's something that the sin tax was passed by Senator Julon in 2012 did. That's why our PhilHealth premiums and coverage has increased dramatically because of the money collected from that law.
yes,
It was not dependent on the appropriations in the GAA.
it was
It
in the
was
law.
right there in the in the
That tackles many questions. Yung sinasabi ng tao, bakit ang magbabayad ng buwis? Binubulsa lang naman. Di ba?
In the,
We were having an investigation on customs, di ba? Meron tayong investigation sa compromise ng BIR where 8 billion was made into 60 million liability. So, you know, you really have to explain to people why you're taking money from their pockets, di
yes,
ba?
yes. If I may, Mr. Chair, explain, in the House version, the wording is the 40% of the incremental revenue would be earmarked for the social mitigating measure. The balance can be used only for infra, health, education, social services, and housing. And there's additional wording that says that the
Can you repeat
distribution,
that? I hope you don't mind. Can you
yes, yes,
say that again?
infrastructure,
Yes, yes. First,
education.
the 40% did you say is what?
Yes, the 40% of the incremental revenues from the oil excise are earmarked for the social mitigating measures.
Meaning this is the
These
profit?
are the
First, the transfers.
transfer, the Pantawid Pasada, Pantawid Kuryente, the social welfare card system, and the public utility vehicle modernization program.
So, ilang transfers yan, Carl? How many transfers in total?
There,
The one to mitigate
there
the
are-
petroleum products,
Yes, there
then
are
the
5
transport
total.
sector
Yes.
transfers, and then
the spot area,
the
electricity,
spag area, okay.
the public utility vehicle modernization, and the social welfare card system.
Now, the social welfare cash system is being opposed. I don't know if that's the correct term, but we hear the DSWD is not exactly endorsing this cash transfer. Why?
Well,
And aren't you in the same cabinet? Shouldn't you speak with one voice?
well, that is also my question, Mr. Chair, Mr. Minority Leader. However, we have had discussion with the SWD, and they are actually actively in helping in a number of ways. Number one is they have provided the listahan ng 2015, or the basis for identifying the poor. They have also agreed, like the rice subsidy top-up, to top up the CCT beneficiaries that they are in control. So then we are working with the other agencies for the balance of the 5.6 million. So the reality here is they have originally opposed, but of course, as the President has already announced this as his urgent priority measure, they have already come to cooperate.
I go back to the question of the chair. The sin tax incremental revenues became acceptable because of the specific allocation and earmarking in the substantive law itself, not only in the GAA. How amenable is the Department of Finance to such a concept being repeated here, so that the purported specific funding will be indicated in the train itself, not in the GAA?
Yes. We actually, Mr. Minority Leader, are amenable. However, we also sought guidance from DBM about having the entire tax reform.
The DBM will never agree to that because
yes, that
the
is
DBM wants to travel funds. Di ba, you have a one-part concept,
Yes.
as you know.
Yeah.
So the DBM will never agree to an earmarking because it's inimical to its own interest, where they want to be able to be flexible. So we understand that from the standpoint of the DBM, but it shouldn't be their dominant worldview that should take over the bill. It should be the worldview of the people, right?
We actually, Mr. Chair, have in the House version come to some middle ground wherein these are earmarked, the amount proportional to, the wording is the earmarking for these 5 items will be proportional to the budget allocation. Our concern is, given the long time it takes to amend a tax, in this case 20 years, we may have get stuck in this allocation where the priorities of the country has emerged. So that is, but we are of course
The
amenable.
first 10 years then.
If that, if that can be legislated,
Yeah,
that we would be open to
But really,
discuss.
we're worried that, you know, because we're the one planning the ways and means, but once it gets to the appropriation stage o sa paggastos ng pera, nag-iiba na, wala na pinangato. Yun ang nakakatakot, di ba? So, why don't we secure the social contract of the people and make it more effective and stronger, di ba?
Yes, I don't know if DBM would like to comment on that.
Di talaga mag-agree dyan ng DBM because they want to be able to travel back because they have to fund everything So, but tayo, we're limited to the, andito, we're limited to the 4 corners of the tax bill. And why don't we make it complete in itself, di ba? From finding ways for funding to the spending of the
I
money.
think, Mr. Chair, that's of course a very good suggestion. If we could look at the time
You're free to propose the projects and let's come to an agreement which are the projects which need to be prioritized, di ba? And of course, taking into view the public opinion, whether it's fixing the MRT or a bit of jeepney modernization, things like that. no?
In the House version, actually, Mr. Chair, the jeepney modernization and the mass transport were actually included in the wording of the earmarking.
But very general At the end of the day, it will be susceptible to
Because
things like impounding and other executive actions, di ba?
Okay.
We all know that.
Not only that, the moment you just leave it in general language, the power is with DBM to allocate because they're the ones who crafts the national expenditure program. And, theoretically, the Congress is holds the string to the purse. The truth is because we are only allowed 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks to examine a 6-inch thick national expenditure program. It's practically the DBM who dictates what the expenditure program will be. So that how amenable is the DOF to the concept of earmarking the incremental revenues? As our chairman said, the reason why the sin tax was accepted by the people is that they saw that the amounts are going to PhilHealth. Dito sinasabi nyo, doon pa lang sa social mitigating cash transfer to the poor, ino-oppose na ng very implementer of that program, which is the DSWD. So how can we assure our people that indeed the incremental revenues here will be dedicated and appropriated for the programs intended to be benefited by these increases in revenue? So that's why we're asking, just at least on percentage basis and on a limited period of time, and a specific allocation and earmarking of the incremental revenue. Just the incremental. We're not talking about, the existing one. Just the incremental. How does that sound?
Mr. Chair, Minority Leader, of course we are amenable given the suggestions you have proposed, limited in percentage. I will confer with the economic managers to come back with the proposal. Thank you. May I continue?
Yes,
Mr.
please. Sorry for the interruption.
Yes, well, the If I may continue, so the second key message is we have really designed this to be a progressive automobile excise tax system. We're in first-time buyers, the small families, and those who will buy the cheaper cars will only share a few thousands. In fact, in financing terms, that is just a maximum of 200 per month, which is far less than the increase in the take-home.
For which model yan? Yung
Well,
200?
for the
For the
Vios,
Vios.
for the Mirage, and even up to the Innova.
Given how many years payback?
Usually it is a 5 years.
So the 200 is on a 5 year.
Correct. And we really hope that interest rates, given our solid macro performance, would remain competitive. The next key message is, although this is more linked to the oil excise, this is also one of our contribution to reducing pollution levels, which in Metro Manila are 4 times higher than the WHO guideline. But this is in tandem, of course, with the oil excise, which I can explain in another hearing. The fourth is, although this may address congestion, we are not saying that this is a solution to congestion. If we only raise the excise tax on oil and automobile without the increase in the take-home pay, then this may have the effect. But since we are also reducing the income tax rates, we are saying that in many cases, congestion may continue because of the higher income effect. And we are actually losing quite a lot, 2.6 billion peso every day in productivity costs in NCR. Private cars, as you know, carry 33% of passengers but occupy 72% of road space. Katipunan, Ortigas Avenue are examples, while the public transport has the opposite. And to answer some of your questions, this is...
Have you studied where they will go if they don't buy cars? Will they ride the MRT? Will they ride the buses?
They will, it depends on the segment, but based on affordability, we have the, of course,
Is there any study or, any kind of simulation as to...
well, what I
what,
know,
yeah.
Mr. Chair, is with Uber and Grab, some are shifting towards those.
Kasi baka naman, they will just buy lower-end models, di ba, with the new tax.
They could also.
They will
It is
not buy
because of the progressive design, they may buy. That is why we are
They
not.
will ride Uber and Grab, that's what you said?
They may.
Maybe. But
Yes.
that's being regulated also by the government.
Well, they have to follow rules, I believe.
Okay.
And finally, to allocate the incremental revenues.
How many
for-
new car buyers do we have for 2016?
For 2016,
Maybe we can ask the auto
Campi,
industry.
we can ask Campi later.
Yeah. Can we ask Campi? Do we have the figures?
Yeah.
Attorney, yeah.
Yeah.
Passenger cars muna, or already disaggregated.
The total figure, Your Honor, is 400,000 units. 60% of that
In
is commercial
2016?
vehicle.
Wow.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
40%. Commercial vehicle, 40% or 35% is passenger cars or the sedan type. Yes.
40% of 400,000,
Yes, Your Honor. Yes.
160,000. Yeah.
May I continue, Mr. Chair?
No,
Just
we
to
want
wrap up.
Sige.
Okay.
Okay.
The next key message is that this excise tax will not cripple the industry.
Did you do a simulation of if na-implement yung either the tax package or the House bill, ano yung effect sa demand?
Yes,
for
Your Honor.
vehicles?
Based on our estimates, there will be a decrease in demand if the proposed
So how much do you
bill.
think you will be selling in that case?
Rough estimate in the case of the original proposal of DOFs is about a reduction of 15 to 20% of the total volume.
But in the House bill?
It's a little bit lower than the Senate bill.
Maybe put a number to it.
Yes, in the House Bill 5636 for the rates stated in 2018, a reduction of about 5%. For the rates stated in 2019, a reduction of about 10 to 12%.
Dun sa proposal nyo, is there a reduction in demand?
Yes,
dun
Your
sa
Honor,
second tiers?
about 5%.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, you said Carl, yeah.
Mr. Chair, 2 more points. The fifth point is really, we do not think that this excise tax on automobile as part of the package age will reduce demand or cripple the automobile industry for the following reasons. First, we have a very strong economy that can overcome the effects of higher excise. Nominal GDP growth is 10% per year, 7% real, which is a target, plus 3% inflation. Population growth remains nominal. Nominal is real growth plus inflation, so the actual increase in the consumption or GDP. The next is population growth remains very strong, 1.8% or 2 million Filipinos every year, which creates a very big demand. The next is falling poverty, unemployment, and underemployment rates captured by across the board by various surveys. And finally, I want to highlight, which I think stakeholders do not fully capture in their analysis, is we are also giving to the public the biggest bonus ever in our economy or history. This is 140 billion from the lower income tax if the package is passed, of which 90% will actually be spent. So even if the price effect were to dampen demand, the whole package, together with the higher income, which will improve demand, will actually increase demand.
You're saying offsetting.
More than offsetting, actually, Mr. Chair. The next point in the next slide is the tax is only one factor that can affect demand. Other factors include income, quality of cars, financing costs, which is actually very affordable today. That is why many people buy cars even without or very little down payment, and also the preference.
What is the outlook for interest rates? Are we going to still enjoy a regime of low interest rates for
Well,
the foreseeable
the
future?
outlook is after 8 years of low interest rate because of the economic slowdown, the U.S. is actually moving towards quantitative easing, therefore increasing interest rates. The central bank may follow. However, there are many other factors. If we maintain very strong macroeconomic fundamentals, interest rates and our monetary policy inflation targeting would probably keep inflation and interest rates affordable. And this is one thing we have been harping about, that to maintain fiscal and macro.
But if you say it will not decrease demand, what is the point if you're arguing that you will have less cars on the road? And it's going to be
actually, my statement, Mr. Chair, is it may decrease because the decision to buy cars is marginal per household. But because we are increasing take-home pay, we think that they might actually increase demand, especially in Manila area. It may increase traffic.
It's more than offsetting. In fact, more disposable income, more cars.
It may increase traffic.
I thought you were arguing for traffic.
No, sir. In the short term, it may, but once the alternatives, the public transport, the modern jeeps have been in place, then that may change. Correct. Yes.
Okay, consumer choice. I don't understand that, maybe, or
Well, I'm not aware of a formal study, but everyone I talk to would prefer, of course, the public transport if they were efficient. That is why we are putting a lot of the resources on public transport, beginning with the easiest one, which is the jeep modernization. The next item is we have estimated the elasticity or the increase in or decrease in demand because of the income or the price effect. And overall for the industry, we find the price elasticity of car demand to be minus 1.2, which means that for every 10% increase in the price, the demand price would fall by 12%. However, because of the increase in the personal income tax the decrease in the personal income tax rates, we are actually giving a lot of new income to the people. That is why the income effect is much higher than the price effect.
go ahead, Senator.
May I have the comment of the automotive industry on the assumption that the price elasticity of car demand is 1.2%?
Thank you, Your Honor. The CAMPI actually commissioned a study of with UANP, and the result is actually minus.
Not been furnished a copy of the study at we asked the last meeting, we asked for a copy of the study.
Yes.
So what is the result of your study of the elasticity?
Minus 2.2, Your Honor, on price elasticity.
Why is it so far from the assumption presented here? Yusek Chua?
Well, I think, Mr.
It's so difficult to talk to economists because you just ask them
Yes, sir.
what time of the day it is. They give you the history of the clock. So I hope
yes,
what happened here.
I think The company stakeholder mentioned the price elasticity. If I may inquire what is the income elasticity? Because it is always two together, the income and the price, because that is how people decide based on their ability to pay and the price that they face. Because it may be high, Mr. Minority Leader, but if the income effect is higher, then it should offset.
I'm not an economist, but based on the study, the result is a price elasticity of minus 2.2, and I believe income is lesser than that, Your Honor.
It's best if you furnish us a
Yes,
copy
sir.
of
We
the...
will,
So we can really check because
sir.
we're relying on your interpretation, which may be different.
Mr. Chair, may I make a comment?
Yes, yes, certainly.
We never in our history gave 140 billion as additional take-home pay. Therefore, no study in the past or data would be able to tell us through regression, the income effect. That is why we strongly believe that if we look at the data and the proper methodology in this package, then we will see the income effect is really much bigger. In fact, Mr. Chair, just one more point. When oil prices reach $130 per barrel, which translated to almost 60 pesos, we do not see a decline in the purchase of cars. And CAMPI data over the last 5 years show that despite the increase in the pump price, and people will pay up to 4,000 per full tank.
So maybe we should really drop the traffic argument,
No, yes,
and really just concentrate on mitigating it. Because we cannot say on the one hand it will decrease traffic, but on the other hand we say it will increase demand.
No,
It's inconsistent.
No, sir. I would like to clarify. I always say that it may reduce traffic.
I mean, anything can happen if you use the word may. Anything can happen.
Simply not.
The word tomorrow, may and tomorrow.
We just do not want to discount the.
No, pero let's siguro, di ba? Let's
Yes, Mr. Chair.
let's be more certain in our we should look for a little more certainty. If
Okay.
we think it will increase traffic, then let's a lot more funding to anti-traffic or public transport measures, di ba? Parang yun ang logical pa akin I don't know.
Okay, I will do that. And finally, Mr. Chair, the argument that our comprehensive automotive resurgence program, the CARD program, will be affected. I believe also with this data that it is not going to be affected, precisely because even if we are increasing the excise tax, this will be additional 10,000 for the Vios and 13,000 for the Mirage. However, the increase in the take-home pay is far more.
On that last point, maybe I'd like to give the floor to Ate Albaba because I know she's the architect of the CARD program. And we're happy you're here, Ate, because this is our last hearing on the automobiles. So could you really tell us if you can say with certainty that there will be no effect on the CARD program?
Thank you and good morning, Your Honor. We calculated the proposed excise restructuring, and this would result in a 3% increase on the weighted average suggested retail price on.
Could you say that again for the benefit of the parang mahina, parang ayaw mo marinig ni Yusek Carl. Parang marinig niya.
Di pa narinig na po ni Yusek to. Based on the analysis that we carried out, the proposed excise restructuring will result in a 3% increase on the weighted average suggested retail price on our two cars models. 3%, Your Honor.
It's the Mirage and the Vios? Tama ba?
Mirage and Vios, yes, sir. And a 6% increase on our 6 other locally manufactured vehicle models under the Motor Vehicle Development Program.
6? I'm not aware of the 6.
Vios, Your Honor, also under Toyota, and Outlander.
Yeah. In the earlier,
It's another model.
another variant.
It's the local manufactured vehicles under the Motor Vehicle Development Program, which is being implemented by the BOI. So there are 6 other models under this program.
So wait, just to be clear, no? Yung 3% on the weight on the two cars, those are the ones that are getting $1,000 per car.
it's a separate program, but
What are they getting?
just the 1% CKD duty on their importations.
They get nanometer 1%.
Yes, Your Honor.
1%. Can you say that again? 1%.
That's the only incentive that they're getting from the program. 1% tariff rate on their CKD importation.
What is CKD?
Completely knocked
Completely
out
knocked down, okay,
parts.
right. And what are the 6 models? The Vios? So is it safe to say the Vios is getting the 1,000 tariff, but it's also getting the 1% duty? These are different models.
This,
The 1,000 is for the locally manufactured one.
the Vios to be, the Vios is a full model change, Your Honor,
Okay.
under the CARS program.
Okay.
But the Vios currently being incentivized under MVDP, it's an old model.
What is MBDP?
The Motor Vehicle Development
Okay.
Program, sir.
So what are the other 5 models, ASEC?
Innova, Innova.
Ma'am, perhaps, Mr. Chair, I can assist.
Yes.
On the part of my company, Mitsubishi Motors, under the program is our L300 chassis cab and the Adventure. Under the Isuzu brand will be the D-Max and the Crosswind, and 2 more models under Toyota, Innova and Vios. Okay. Then under the CARS program will be the Toyota Vios again, and the Mitsubishi Mirage, sir.
Yung 1%, what is the tariff rate? What is the monetary equivalent of that if you concretize it to the various models?
I'm sorry, sir, I cannot answer that now. But I do have a 10-year history of my company's excise tax payment and value added,
Hindi na.
should you wish that.
We believe you are responsible taxpayer. We just want to know what the represents. Para ka naman yung economist na binigay yung history ng clock.
Mr. Chair, baka meron dun sa ibang, kunyari, for example, Toyota Philippines may have that data. Yung, how much is that 1%?
We'll ask for, if you could submit it to us. What is, we'll ask the detail of the various players also to give it to us. So tama ba? Tama yung model na? Before yun, yung sinabi ko nila.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that's the only incentive they're enjoying, yung 1%.
Sir, because if you're not under the program, it would be a more complex process that the car manufacturer would have to go through. You'll have to pay for each of the separate part that you will be bringing in.
Right.
Unlike if you're part of the program, it's already it's more facilitative, and it also reduces the transactions cost. But
Okay.
we'll provide you with the amount of the
Okay.
1%.
So 3% and 6% ang effect on the
3%,
price.
3% and 6%. And based on our consultations with the participants, these increases would be manageable.
Okay. Thank you. Attorney Gutierrez.
If I may, the Motor Vehicle Development Program is designed to support all those who locally produce vehicle, no?
To incentivize you.
Yes. So the incentive actually is basically on that 1% import duty based on the CKD pack that we import. It's a whole, the parts and components, we call that CKD pack, for a vehicle to be assembled. So that 1% import duty is actually the incentives for those local manufacturers, as opposed, of course, to a higher rates imposed on completely built-up units, which is about 20 to 30%. Thank you.
20 to 30%. That's the tariff they
That's
pay?
the tariff, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
And sa market ngayon, how many are locally manufactured? How many are CBK and CBK?
Only about
CBK?
30% of
CKD.
the
CKD.
only about 30% of the total sales volume, Your Honor.
Are CKD.
Yes, sir.
But tama ba, Yusek, to say that from a policy standpoint, we're trying to encourage this CKD in the automobile industry? Is that, ASEC? Yeah, is that the policy, to encourage CKD rather than just, no, that seems the... yeah.
Well, we're trying to upgrade our participation in the global value chain, Your Honor.
Yeah.
But to do that, we need to increase our scale. We need to increase our domestic production. Our objective actually is to hit 1 million.
When you say to increase our participation in the global value chain, can we break that down a little? Is that not just to produce more cars, but even more of the parts will be produced here in the Philippines?
Yes,
That's what you
Your
mean,
Honor.
no?
Yes.
Okay.
For the Philippines to get a particular model that would be manufactured and to be sold not only in the Philippine market but as well as
For
in
export.
ASEAN. Yes, Your Honor.
Did you say that your objective is to reach 1 million, what? 1 million per annually vehicles on new vehicles on the road, in the market?
That would take, sir, that's going to take, yeah, 8 to 10 years. But that's our long-term goal. Why we are doing all this support.
It scares me to
programs.
think that you have 1 million cars annually, and look at EDSA, Jesus.
No, sir. These cars will not be sold only in the Philippines, but they would be exported as well. So they're not the 1 million mark that we're looking at would be for both the domestic and the
Today at
export.
400,000 cars, look at how long it takes us to move from one place to the other. It takes about 400 hours anyway. Attorney Gutierrez is keeps on raising his hand.
Sige, attorney.
Thank you, Your Honor. In addition to the explanation on CARS program actually was issued recently just to promote the viability of local production. The amount given to per vehicle under the program is $1,000. This is because it is cheaper to import than to produce locally. Same model. The cost gap actually is almost $2,000.
Siguro the more accurate thing is to assemble locally.
To assemble locally, that's correct,
Produce,
Your Honor. Yeah. So, so that is designed to close the gap between locally assembled and imported ones. So the local assembly asked the government to issue this program so that we could maintain the viability of local assembly. The volume requirement is actually 200,000 units per model for a period of 6 years. That is to achieve economies of scale. The figure was arrived at upon consultation with the industry and BOI. That is the volume where we see that cost would go down and make local assembly competitive, at least in relation to our foreign affiliates. Even Toyota competes with Toyota affiliates in the region. Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah. So, Yuseka, you're finished, no? With the... Okay.
May I submit, Mr. Chair, our detailed
Of course,
data
certainly, please. We'd appreciate
for,
that. Thank you very
for
much.
the full understanding. Thank you.
Salamat. I'd also like to mention that there are bills in the House to increase the motor vehicle users charge, which I understand have remained unchanged since 2004. How does the body or the resource persons, how do they feel about that? I'm wondering what the consumer groups here. Road users, it's the road users tax, Mr. Senator. Do we have consumer groups present here? Yeah, Yusek.
If I may just, Mr. Chair, just a big, quick background. This is the motor vehicle user charge increase, as you mentioned, has not been adjusted since 2004. So we are proposing to increase by cumulative inflation as a complementary measure to the package one, so that everyone who uses road would be contributing as well, not only the new buyer. So that is the rationale. In the House, it was filed by Congressman Villafuerte. We hope to begin hearings soon.
Mr. Chair, just in that regard, basically, I have no problem with re-examining the rates on the road users tax. But two comments on the administration. Number one, they don't even know how to spend the money there, particularly when it comes to the environmental portion. I understand billions of pesos have remained unutilized there. Number two, I will oppose this increase unless you abolish the road users board and have the income go into the general fund. You know that road users board is a useless duplication, and it's just an administrative hindrance to better utilization of our resources. Does it provide in the House bill that the road board is abolished?
Mr. Chair, indeed, Mr. Minority Leader, indeed, we support your proposal. In the House Bill 5804, the idea would be to merge the fund with the general fund.
Yeah, we can, you know, we can earmark it, but, you know, it's part of the general fund, which is generally administered by budget, by
Yes.
treasury,
Yes, it is.
and by the existing structure responsible for road maintenance, rather than the road users board. Jesus Christ.
Mr. Chair, the House bill that we have submitted, which was filed in Section 7, reads that all monies collected under this act shall accrue to the general fund to finance road infrastructure projects of the government, which shall be allocated in the annual
Is that the Villafuerte or the Garin bill?
Villafuerte bill, yes.
And you drafted it for him?
Well, this
You-
was in a discussion with
Okay.
him. However, if I may, in the latest is we'll have to discuss, of course, with Malacanang about this proposal.
What do you mean? Is Malacanang is not endorsing that?
No, we just have to have a discussion because this is relatively a new bill that was proposed.
Okay.
What about the proposal we suggested that it be higher for, not for the first car, but for the second, third, and fourth?
In the original proposal, Mr. Chair, we proposed a three-tier approach to taxing motor vehicles under the MBUC. The first tier would be the basic by size and weight. That is the current system. The second is the older the car, which becomes more inefficient, polluting, and disturbing, would be taxed higher. However, we have to abandon this because of concerns that second-hand cars are being bought by low-income people. The third is to tax the second and the third car higher. However, administratively, this is quite difficult because of the possible avoidance by registering in another name or address. So, because of this, we are backing the original proposal to just tax all cars by size and weight.
A country like Singapore is able to do it.
It's
a smaller size?
It's a smaller size, authoritarian, and one LGU.
Okay. Maybe we can get the views of the road board on these measures.
Sir, we have no comment on what the USEC wants. If it's an additional fund for the board, then we're just the fund manager for the road fund, sir. There was no increase since the bill was passed. Since 8794, there
Should
has
it be
been
increased?
Right now, sir, the fund is...
What is the argument for increase? The number of cars or the wear and tear of the roads? What is the best
Well,
argument for that?
Sir, it's really it's really the discretion of the president to increase the fund.
There is a provision
Yes,
where
sir.
the president can increase it.
Section 3 of 8794 gives the authority to the president to increase
Why
the
doesn't
fund.
the USEC just recommend to the president to increase it?
The wording, I believe, is to use annual CPI. Our legal team would have some concern because we are increasing cumulatively. If we increase and base it on the way it's worded, we might be limited.
Why haven't you recommended an increase? You can recommend one right now.
Well, the inflation is 2.7.
Yeah.
So we could, yes.
So how much would
actually.
you get by doing that?
Well,
You haven't calculated it?
inflation has been
Yeah.
very small. So for instance, the 3,600 paid by
Your interpretation is that it prevents you from doing it cumulatively. You can
Cumulatively.
only do it on an annual
Correct,
basis.
yes. That is why we propose to go back. And together with the additional proposal to combine the roads fund with the general fund.
Why don't you already do that? At least it's
We
additional.
will
Yeah.
take the guidance.
Maybe come back to us with a
Yes.
figure that
Yes.
you can raise with that. Any opinions from the body on the increase in the possible increase in the road users charge? Yeah, Mr. Mata.
Maraming salamat po. Well, mabuti nga ho nabanggit, no? At nagkagulatan ngayon. may kasunod pa pala itong pinag-uusapan natin, no? Dahil alam naman namin na unang pakete pa lang ito ng 5 packages, no, na nasa isip ng DOF natin, maganda nga na ilatag na lahat. Ano ba talaga pa ang nasa isip ninyo na gusto nyong pigain sa mga manggagawa, no? Definitely, there will be an impact, no, sa transportation cost niyan, no, kaya may problema po yan, no? Pero subalit hindi naman, dahil hindi ito po yung main topic natin, Mr. Chair, does it mean that I can now speak about our position dun sa train?
Sana yung specific, let's leave ourselves to, we'll invite you to the other hearings also.
No, but specifically on this
yung sa automobile sa MVUC.
I have just
natin,
I just have 3 points po, Mr. Chair, or 4. The first, as a general comment, parang nakakalito lang po yung ating mga policies, no? Because on the one hand, we have cars which was intended to help yung ating industriya, and on the other hand, meron kang ganitong plano na parang ang effect ay to reduce naman yung production. On top of that, meron ka pang ongoing smuggling pa rin. On another issue, meron ka pang iba pa mga problema na tends to dissuade people from buying automobiles. So, ano ba talaga strategiya, no? Kasi parang very contradictory yung mga policies na ito, no? But that's a general comment. The other more specific concern that we have ay yung possible impact po nito sa employment. Wala naman kaming, as a matter of principle, hindi naman kami mag-oppose sa excise tax sa mga sasakyan, lalo na kung ito'y para sa mga luxury vehicles, no? I mean, morally, parang ang hirap i-oppose nun pagkatungkol na sa luxury items. Pero mas concern namin ay impact sa trabaho. Lalo na ngayon, narinig po namin ang sinasabi nga ng mga kasama natin sa automotive industry na ang impact sa job ay anywhere from 5 to 12% ayon dun sa HOR version, at 15 to 20%, a higher 15 to 20% kung yung current Senate version, no? What does it mean when you reduce by 5% at the minimum ang mga sasakyan na ipoproduce ng mga manufacturers natin? How many jobs will that mean? Ako yun po yung aming concern, no? Hindi mahalaga na magreforma ng tax, pero hindi maaari na ilang tao lang
with your indulgence, Mr. Mata,
yes,
maybe we can throw that question to the people who would know the car industry. What is that 5% entail sa trabaho?
Yeah, right now the local assembly, the plants, including the parts makers, local suppliers, the dealers, we employ about more than 70,000 direct workers. Of course, multiplier effect would be around 300,000 plus beneficiaries. So that's true. Once we limit or curtail the growth of the auto industry, definitely local employment will be affected, as well as the ancillary business. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yeah, please continue. Senator Bin, I think, wants to,
Chair,
with your
wala
indulgence.
ko kayong data na parang specific number of lost jobs if we do implement this program?
Your Honor, as of now, we have not calculated, but we can submit later on.
Okay,
Yes.
please
Sir,
submit.
Chair,
Yeah.
would DTI have that data?
So for jobs, it's a bit difficult siguro. Try to maybe see what the effect is on, yeah.
We haven't done the calculations yet,
Yeah.
Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Go
Mr.
ahead, sir.
Chair, if I may, no, ganun din po yung concern namin sa iba pang items. I won't go into that. Pero sa beverage industry, I was told na ang target ng DOF was to reduce production by 7%. Nung tinanong din namin, what does it mean in terms of employment? Wala rin makapagbigay sa amin, no, ng dahilan. And that's the reason why, Mr. Chair, ang position po namin, if you want to go ahead with this, that's fine. Pero dapat ho meron tayong naka-earmark na pondo in the bill, not in the GA, na talagang specifically designed to address yung, to mitigate yung impacts ng mga manggagawang matatanggal sa trabaho, whether it's through retraining, paid trainings, or whether it is for cash transfer until such time they find a new job with the same level of remuneration. These are things that tingin ko na dapat ilagay do sa bill at nasa ngayon ay wala. No? Nasa tingin ko kaya naman, and even I believe even in our dialogue with the Department of Finance, very willing naman sila na pag-usapan yung mga ganon, no? So yun po yung isang suggestion. Yung pangalawa pong pangalawang tingin ko dapat nating pag-usapan din dito I saw a statement coming from the DOTR saying na hindi dapat mag-alala yung ating industriya dahil sila naman po ang asahan na mag-manufacture ng mga pampalit doon sa pag-refleet natin ng mga PUJs natin, no, which is about 200,000 to 300,000. Well, that's well and good, no? Pero hindi ho complete story yan eh. Ang problema po namin yan, at ito, bring up na namin to kahit sa House, no, kay Yusek Calden. On the one hand, related dun sa ibang portion ng train, tataasan natin ang petroleum, tapos maririnig namin na may manufacture na kayo naman yung sasalo ng manufacturing ng mga bagong mga sasakyan, paano naman po yung mga taong mawawalan na ng trabaho, ng livelihood, dahil ang policy ng gobyerno ngayon ay i-phase out ang mga jeepneys. At yung policy ng DOTR is na nilabas nila, yung DO11, essentially encourages hindi yung pag-transition ng mga current jeepney drivers and owners to have new automobiles or new jeepneys, but to encourage yung mga corporations to actually take over the public transport system. So, maganda, we-encourage namin na yung magpag-manufacture ng mga sasakyan na pampalit sa jeepneys natin ay gawin natin locally. That's great. Pero at the same time, hindi naman din po pwede na iisipin natin ano yung pampalit sa kanila, tapos wala naman tayong pakialam ano mangyayari doon sa mga about 260,000 workers, transport workers, jeepney drivers in particular, well, you have to double that at least. So that's about 520,000 jeepney drivers and operators that are now using the 260,000 franchises na meron sa jeepneys. So, marami pong, yung ganito po yung mga concern namin na sa tingin namin hindi ho masyadong binibigyan ng
please, sir, sakit po kayo ng tingin nyo dapat after patapusin lang natin si Mr. Mata. Pero submit nyo na lang po para sa pananaw nyo na dapat nasa bill mismo para hindi mawala di ba? Kasi baka yung pangako yun nga mawala. But I agree that yung we should allow for long jobs, things like that, retraining, yung mga ganon. Definitely.
So, just one more
please take your time to wrap up. But
just one last point.
Important naman yung specific proposals niya.
We will do that po. Pero one last point po. Ito po ay tingin namin ay dapat ngayon i-revisit natin kasi nung panahon na pinag-uusapan yung CARS program, which we supported, nung sinuportahan po namin yan, ang sinabi namin, dapat yung mga kumpanya na nakikinabang sa financial assistance mula sa gobyerno ay labor standards compliant. Dapat lang po, di ba? Kasi tayo nagsusuporta sa kanila, dapat yung mga manggagawa ay regular at the same time pamumuhay at nire-respeto ang kanilang karapatan. Ngunit hindi lang yung manggagawa sa Toyota, sa Mitsubishi, kundi pati yung mga manggagawa sa supply chain niya at maging dun sa mga nagbebenta ng mga sasakyan. Unfortunately, hindi ho yun lumabas dun sa pinangakuan ho kami ng DTI na ilalagay nila sa IRR nila yon, no? Na magiging labor standards compliant ang sino mang kumpanya na makikinabang sa pondo natin. Subalit wala ho yan dun sa IRR ng CARS hanggang ngayon. Maari po ba na gusto rin namin i-request na sa ganitong sitwasyon, maganda, linawin na natin para masiguro natin na protektado ang karapatan ng mga magagawa, hindi lang yun nandun sa mga car manufacturing itself, kundi sa supply chain niya. Dapat lahat sila may respeto sa karapatan ng mga magagawa. At kung hindi, wala silang karapatan gumamit ng pondo ng gobyerno. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Mr. Mata. Mr. Juan from the Mr. Santos.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, I speak on behalf of my company, Mitsubishi Motors, and as president of the Truck Manufacturers Association. Let me shift again the discussion on the excise tax. One of the definitions that we are trying to clarify is on the word chassis cab. The chassis cab apparently is not being included in the Senate version. However, we must consider chassis cab as the workhorse of the masses. Nobody buys a chassis cab just to luxuriate. They use it for business. They use it for multi-purpose. And my company produces our L300 chassis cab, for example, at the highest local content. 70% of our product is coming from Philippine parts makers under the association of Mr. Ferdi Raquel Santos.
Clarify what is a chassis cab. Is that a PUV used for public
It's
transport?
a single cab, like the L300 FP.
Okay.
L300 with a box at the back. These are all Philippine-made.
Saan ginagamit yan usually?
Ito ho yung may FB, ginagamit na panghakot ng goods, shuttle ng mga estudyante.
Anong hinihingi nyo for that?
To be exempted from the... because these are commercial purpose.
What does the USEC say from DOF? Have you studied that issue?
Yes, we've studied that. You know, Mr. Chair, the single cab chassis are never used by itself. They're always put a body, either for goods delivery or passengers. The reason why we wanted it removed is because they don't exist and function that way. However, if the intention is to deliver goods, exempt naman po yung truck and cargo van, which says in section the tax code that any motor vehicle of any configuration that is exclusively designed for the carriage of goods and with any number of wheels and axles are exempt. Now, if the idea is to convert it into a jeep, then the jeepney are also exempt. So we think this is redundant and a source of leakage.
Sir, yeah, our position in our association is if we can redefine the PUV from public utility vehicle to be redefined as a Philippine utility vehicle. So as such, this will be covered, the public transport jeepney replacement and also the conversions that are used for goods. But however, sir, we still recommend that single cab be specifically included in the exemption for excise tax. So as para lang maging specific, sir, kasi minsan it's open to misinterpretation.
Just to clarify, your feeling is that it's already exempt. So, kasi redundant, sabi mo, di ba?
Well, currently they are
So there's no right to include it.
no, because what if it is used for private use?
So
And there are many...
Should it be fulfilled for the purposes?
Because, Mr. Chair, exempted naman yung truck, cargo van, jeep, jeepney, substitutes, bus. So, single cab can be used for goods, for passengers, or private use.
But if the phrasing were such, the phrasing of the exemption were such that single cab used for public utility and transport of goods, you would not be opposed to that?
Well, since, Mr. Chair, we also want to simplify the tax code. If it is captured in the truck, cargo, and the jeep, then I think they are sufficient because it is defined on how to use it.
I think what the point we're trying to make is that parang na except
Mr.
baka kasi
Chair,
magbago yung interpretation.
the problem kasi is the avoidance. It may be declared first as a public goods or passenger use, but then eventually reconverted. So we just want to be,
May data ba tayo dyan, Mr. Santos, on how many are used for personal use, ilan yung sa public goods, saan mo ginagamit? Not used for transport
Mr.
and
Chair,
for...
Siguro,
yeah, Senator Binay.
for example, pwede ba example dito yung ambulance?
Yes, ma'am.
So yun, paano classification ng ambulance? Will it be exempted?
Yes, under section F, all special vehicles like ambulance, fire trucks, etc. are exempt. So there's I think sufficient safeguard po.
Mr. Chair, for speaking from the industry, no, I think it's safe to say that yung chassis cabs are never used for luxury. So I think it's safe pa rin to include the chassis cab in the exemption, sir, kasi talagang lahat yan ay ginagamit pang negosyo.
Adding to that, Mr. Chair, as I mentioned, for any company, it's around 1,000 or 700.
So, yung total ano? Yung total production,
20,000 is a good number.
Sa isang taon?
Yes, sir.
Sa 2016, 20,000 ang nabenta niyan.
Opo. Ngayon,
very small amount, ano?
I'd like, sir, to...
What is the potential for leakage there? May estimate ba tayo?
Right now kasi, Mr. Chair, it's exempt. So it's not being really monitored how, unless not we can ask the industry to, or the, well, my understanding, Mr. Chair, is the manufacturer or the importer sell it to the retailers, and then the retailers would be the one, or together with a conduit, put the body. After that point, we don't know how it's used, whether it's a jeep or cargo or private use. And the law naman exempts cargo and public utility vehicle use, but not the private one, because that's really the purpose. We're just not sure how they could, avoid by first declaring as exempt, then later baka gamitin for private. Para fair.
Okay. Sige. Anyway, submit na lang your proposal in writing, your proposed amendment, and we'll take
Yes, Mr. Chair, and we will add that also the local content of these vehicles are the highway of the Philippines. Meaning,
local content?
These are the products produced by the Philippine parts makers.
Ano nga yung local content?
From
Percentage-wise, Percentage-wise.
70%, sir.
70.
Yes, sir. A vehicle. Yes, sir.
Galing.
Sa mga kumpanyang under the Philippine Parts Makers Association.
Dito lahat? Dito are we sure about that?
Yes, sir. Filipino-made talaga yung mga yan.
Tama ba yan? Sec, Aldaba? Yung mga vehicles, that's all local,
Yes,
locally
Your Honor.
sourced. Even the steel and the...
Ay, sir, yung steel,
yung raw material.
that's being imported.
Yeah.
But yung local content po ay nasa 70% ang Mitsubishi.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, siguro ano ang position ng DTI dun sa issue ng chassis?
Yeah. Have you been listening to they're requesting a specific exemption for chassis truck? Yeah. Because the rationalization is that they're used for business and public transport. So, and they're locally manufactured. So,
Can you give us some time?
okay, yeah, sure. We'll appreciate it. Yeah, certainly.
Mr. Chairman, just to add even further, Yusek Chua, we even want to specify and clarify that even if the units are converted already, that it is still exempted from excise tax. Because right now, there's an interpretation wherein if the chassis cab is converted into let's say an L300, some people interpret it as excise taxable. So, yun yung gusto namin klaruhin. Kasi po, alam niyo po, ito po, meron po, sabihin niyo po, itong taon na to, baka we're proposing for an extension of the L300, the adventure in the crosswind. Dahil po, ang nakadepende pong trabaho rito is 7,000. 120 parts makers who ang apektado rito at 22 companies ang magsasara. Ganun po yung laki ng epekto nito. Kaya gusto ko po sana maklaro na dito sa bagong excise tax law natin, klaro po yung exemption sa kanila. Kasi po, ito po ang backbone ng ng ating economic development. Ito pong mga commercial vehicles na to. At saka, yung ating mga SME, ito ho lahat ng sasakyan nila. So, kailangan po masuportahan natin.
Mr. Juan, willing ba kayo na narrowly worded yung exemption na it must be used for public, pag nahulog ginagamit pala na personal, yung sinasabi ni Yusek, ito may multa ba, diba? Pwede nilang for backpack.
Mr. Chair, kasi ganito po, pag pinanta po namin sa kanila ng L300FB, ginagamit po nila yung negosyo for weekdays, pero pag weekends po, pamilya. Kaya po magbibenta kasi dual purpose po. Kasi wala po kami control doon.
It's mixed use.
Yes po.
Mr.
Okay.
Chair, siguro, Yusek Chua, may study ho ba kayo kung ilan ba yung nagagamit for private use? Kasi kung minimal naman yung percentage, baka pwedeng bigyan na natin sa kanila yung exemption.
Actually, ma'am, we don't have a study, but yung point na lang is there are only 3 ways to use it, either for goods, for public conveyance of passengers, or private. Nakalagay naman po sa tax code natin kung for passengers.
Maybe we can ask the BIR, but if it's a mixed-use vehicle, does it avail of the nagagamit?
That is the problem kasi we don't know how mixed
we'd
use.
like to acknowledge Senator Gatchalian, the chairman of the Senate Committee on Energy. Yeah.
Siguro,
Okay.
Mr. Chair, kasi for example, yung school bus, pwedeng gamitin siya Monday to Friday school
Is the
bus.
BIR?
Monday,
Is the BIR? What is your interpretation, let's say, for the mixed use siya. Sa week ginagamit na van or delivery van, tapos sa weekend ginagamit, sa gabi ginagamit na pangpasahero. Ano yun? Are they exempt under the existing, yung produto na tinawag ni Yusek Chua?
Yes.
Exempt ba sila?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Bali, ang sa amin po kasing interpretation dyan is yung primary use is for, yung primary use is yun yung aming basis.
50-50. What is the...
Mr. Chair, from the industry, we can safely say na lahat ho ng bumibili niyan, 100% gagamitin sa negosyo. Kung gamitin ho yan ng pang personal, siguro may mga 1% or 2%. Kasi multi-purpose ho talaga siya, and that is the intent. And this L300 ho is a phenomenon in the region. Sa Pilipinas lang ho nag-hit ito. Kaya po, 30 years na po yung sasakyan na yan at nandyan pa rin kasi po talagang akmang-akma sa pangangailangan ng mga Pilipino. So, yun lang ang sinasabi, ang hinihingi namin i-exempt na rin natin sila.
Yeah, kasi ang sagot naman ni Yusek Chua is they're already exempt. So, yung pwedeng siguraduhin natin ang exempt pa rin nila, parang ganon. Di ba? Well, we'll take a look at it. Let's wait for the details and then let's and submit your proposed language, please, para sa nakakali. Any other topic issue? Yeah, before we recognize Attorney Gutierrez, let's hear from some new people, no?
Sa transport group po ako ng York Express at saka mga
sige, sir.
So, ang tanong ko lang po kay Secretary Chua, is paano kami ma-exempt pagkakabawa ng palit kami ng York Express dahil po yun ay urban na Toyota. Sa bagay, may mga dito ay kuwap po kami. Remunerate po kami ng DTI. Paano po kami makaka-exempt ng excise tax na yan? Dahil isa sa parang lottery vehicle din po yung Toyota na itong mga urban at saka itong mga bar. Exempted po ba yun? Ano pa pagbili namin dahil bibilihin namin private muna at ipaparegister namin sa NTFRB. Nauna pong bumili kami. Ngayon, ipapalit po namin sa lupa namin pero registered franchise holder po kami. Paano kami makakabing ng excise tax na yan? Thank you po.
May I answer? Of course. Well, sir, excitable po siya ngayon at hindi po namin gagalawin yan. Siguro yung sagot, baka the Congress can look into that. Pero yung position kasi namin is all these cars that are not, or automobile na hindi kasama po sa exemption list ay mananatiling excisable. Ang excise tax po kasi kinokolekta yan sa importation or the manufacturing level. Hindi po yun sa retail. So hindi po nang alam ng BIR kung saan gagamitin. So susundan po natin yung ginawang magandang batas dati. Ina-adjust lang naman natin for inflation itong mga tax rates kasi 13 taon na po hindi nagagalaw.
Thank you po.
Any other, Mr. Juan? Then after that, Mr. Gutierrez. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, we'd like to give our position already for the electric vehicle.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank Yusek Chua. In his opening statement, he mentioned that the auto excise tax, the new auto excise tax, is really there to help pollution. So that makes our role more crucial po sa Electric Vehicle Association of the Philippines. Nakalagay po dun exempted ng hybrid. We just want to clarify po and to make it more specific kasi we don't want to open it to vague interpretations po. Sa electric vehicles po na Association of the Philippines and in other associations in the region, ang definition po ng electric vehicle should cover, number 1, yung hybrid. So yan ho yung hybrid ng Toyota Prius. And yung battery electric vehicles, these are the fully electric vehicles na battery operated. And the plug-in hybrid, ito po yung meron ding gasolina pero sinasaksak din. Yung battery electric, disaksak ho yun. Tapos yung PHEV, plug-in hybrid, sasaksak nyo rin. Tapos pag maubos na yung charge, magsishift siya sa sa gasolina. And the fuel cell vehicle, FCV, ito po ay all electrically driven. And these are all aligned with helping pollution po kasi ang carbon emissions nito ay close to nothing. So gusto po namin specifically mailagay lahat po yun one by one para po klarong-klaro. And then of course we would like to point out also that we support the PUV modernization program of the government that is being done by the Department of Transportation, and 100% support the Eco PUV program that is being proposed by the BOI and the DTI. Nandito po si Sec Fita and si Sir Mulong. Sila po ang talagang nakakaalam niyan. And isa pa po, gusto po namin, with your indulgence, Your Honors, maggagawa po kami ng presentation from industry about the Eco PUV program para po maintindihan din po ng lahat yung mga pinagtatrabahuhan na ho namin in the last year. We have set the standards ho through the Bureau Philippine Standards, and we have been working with all the departments po. Nagpapasalamat din ho kami sa Department of Finance dahil po dun sa speed program nila at saka yung impending financing na maibibigay din sa mga modern jeepneys, no? Isa pa nga gusto namin i-push is the definition of the PUV. The PUV to become the Philippine utility vehicle. Ang advocacy ho ng EVAP is number 1, to promote the use of electric vehicles, and number 2, to promote local manufacturing. Sa electric vehicles po, gusto ko lang po i-share, no? Pag ito pong jeepney modernization ay matuloy, yung PUV modernization ay matuloy, we are seeing and we are targeting about 10% of this to be electric. Pag ito po ay matuloy, we are looking at about 10,000 jobs to be created. We are looking at taxes.
Units yung 10%?
That's about 20,000 units, sir. 200,000 kasi yung imo-modernize. We're looking at more taxes for the government.
What's the realistic time frame for that?
Realistic po actually is about 3 to 6 years. Mga 3 to 6 years po.
Anong component yung local and component yung import?
Pareho po yan nung pinupush namin sa single cab ngayon. Local content ho is 70%. And even more, pag matuloy ho ang plano ng BOI, tataas po ho yung local content.
Yung 10% na electric vehicles, ang component niyan 70% local.
Yes, sir. Ganun din yun. Because they're using the same platform po. More taxes for the government, 690 million, and with the multiplier effect of about 1.67 billion. Carbon credits of about 355,000 tons at $10 per ton. That's about 3.56 million. We will save 4.5 billion in oil imports, no? And we will save in pollution-related health expenses related to pulmonary and cardiovascular disease to the tune of 1.64 billion. Ito po yung mga hindi na masyado na present na advantage ng electric vehicle.
Please make that part of your submission.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
There is an expected to be net VAT gain of about 1.57 billion and VAT collection of about 88 million. All things considered, the net revenue gain will be around 10.5 billion for the government. And with your indulgence po, kasama po namin na executive director namin, si Mr. Bong Cruz. Meron po siyang presentation to explain to everybody the proposed PUV modernization and Eco PUV program ng BOI ho. Kung pwede.
Magandang umaga po. Hapon na po. Magandang umaga, Senators Angara, Binay, and Gatchalian. Paki-ano po sa PowerPoint natin. Yan. This material I'm presenting po ay may sabi ko na po sa Secretariat. I'll be doing two presentations na very briefly. Number one po yung proposed Eco PUV program, and pangalawa po ay yung aming table ng mga baka ng table para po malinaw po na po yung nire-request namin changes doon sa SB 1408 po. So ito po ay proposed Eco PUV program class 2 and 3. Siya po ay proposed pa lang because natin is class 2 term, hindi po siya final until we finally come up with the executive order to implement this. Eco po siya for two reasons, economic and ecology, and in class 2 and 3 because in the proposed PUV modernization program, meron po tayong apat na classes which will cover 2 and 3 will be 60% of the market. So, siya po ay fuel. Ito po ay part of the Excise program of Thailand where they really are pushing for localization not only of car parts but also of engine parts. Bakit po siya dyan more or less, no? So under the PUV modernization program, nakagawa na po kami ng standard po yung pagkakabang PNS, Philippine National Standard 21.6 of 2017 dahil nasa BPS na po yan for approval. Gumawa po kami, na-propose po ang industry ng 4 na klaseng PUV. Yung class 1 po ay 9 to 22 passengers, lahat po nakaupo. Yung class 2 and 3, which comprises 60% of the volume, yung po ang class 2 ay pwede pong tumayo. 23 passengers pwede tumayo. Sa class 3 po, 23 passengers hindi po pwede tumayo. Nakaupo po natin sa facing. 23 plus 8 po yung standing natin. No? Tapos yung class 4 po, nakaupo po lahat pero with po, provision for passport. Ito po ay dinidetermine base po sa number siguro base po sa number ng mga passengers, kung ano po ang driving train, kung ano po yung driving conditions, at kung stop and go po ba siya. No? So yan po ang dinidetermine sa anong apply, yung uri ng sasakyan. No? So pero nag-create po kami ng 4. At yan po ay pwedeng aircon at pwede pong hindi.
Mr.
Yes, po.
Alin dyan ang ginagawa ng industriya? Lahat ba ginagawa?
Class 1 po, 2 and 3. Class 1 ang karamihan po ngayon. Pero ang demand po, nasa 2 and 3 kami nag-shoot kasi po, we don't utilize na kasi po lahat po
yung class 4 hindi pa nag-aas?
Hindi pa po. Heavy duty po yan na pag-probinsya. So ito po mga maliliit para sa maliit na kalsada, yung 1. Yung class 2 is stop and go sa city traffic. Class 3 is when we go from one city to the other. Class 4 is when we go from one province to another. So yun po ang mga pag-category nun kung saan siya gagamitin. Ang 200 is class 1 po. Napasok po siya sa class 1. Kasi below 22 passengers po siya. So yun po ang 4 na configurations ng ating bodies that the industry has recommended for the PUV modernization program. Focus po tayo sa class 4 kasi karamihan po ng mga chipness nyo lalo sa province sa mga 23 seaters na above po yun. So yun po dapat natin i-match. Ang first program po, alam naman po natin na 9 billion ang incentive per participant, but they have to produce and sell 200,000 over 6 years. Alam mo yun po natin na yung first slot 1 to Mitsubishi Mirage, second slot 1 to Toyota Vios. Ang proposal po sana, o ito pong third slot, ibigay po sa modern PUV. Pero not for a particular brand model, but to the industry. Sa mga tuloy po ang magiginatan po dyan, ay best po yung platform supplier at po yung mga bodybuilders. Kasi yung industry po nakakati sa dalawa, yung modern PUV industry, yung panag-supply ng platform at yung panag-supply ng bodies. Dalawang industry po yung pahiwalay. So, balak po sana po na nilagay. So, kung mangyari po yan, magkakaroon po tayo ng more chance na from 5 billion to 9 billion, 9 billion din the maximum indicative to third slot for the price program. So, depende po yan kung lalabas ng committee sa executive order. Ito po ang PFI figures. Right now, there are 234,000 registered jeepneys. Traditional jeepneys po yan. Pero out of that, around 205,000 po are more than 15 years old. Yan na po ang talagang papalitan natin na dapat palitan na kaagad yung 205,000 na po yan. Ang 70,000 po yan nasa Metro Manila. Nasa Metro Manila po yung 70,000. So ito yung target natin yung 205,000 na yan kung gusto natin palitan immediately na. Pero itong program features po ay 200,000 units of PUVs over 6 years. Ang ito ay proposal lang naman sana para sa amin. Mas maganda po kung guaranteed LTO for the franchise for those who is locally manufacturing sold under the PUV modernization program, and there will be access to financing. Ang ito ay proposal po target volumes is around 200 to 203,000 na papalitan natin. At if we focus on 60% of the class 2 and 3, yan po ay nasa around 120,000. Yung pong nasa kanan, yan po yung monthly capacity na dapat i-deliver ng mga bodybuilders. Kung sila po kukuha ng 4, i-divide po 1 by 4. But ito pong class 2 and 3, next na ngayong buwan po nag-umpisa na kami ng class 1 and 4. So yung class 1 and 4 po, bago lumabas yung executive order, ay matatapos na rin namin. So ito basically cover classes 1 to 4 na po tayo, and we'll focus on the 2 or 4 for 202,000. Ang hinihingi po sa amin ng DUI para po sa programa is that kami po ay makapagkakaroon ng production capacity na 1,000 units per month. Imagine nyo na lang po kami po ay bodybuilder, kami po ay may 2.5 hectare na planta, ang nagagawa po na 400 lang. So kung 1,000 po, isang napakalaking planta po ang aming invest na ganun gawin para po kami makapag-deploy kung turn up capacity. Doon po sa and the second year, that will require a lot of investments po and a big plan. So ito po yung DOTRP Modernization Program na nilaunch po ng 2019-2017. Ang first part po niyan ay engagement po ng LGU sa transport planning, and then depending on the results of that, nagawa po ng route nationalization program, and thereafter, implementation ng ambitious forecasting guidelines. Tinatrabaho na po ngayon. From the industry point of view, from end naman, yung PUV standards of certification, tinutulungan po namin ng Bureau of Philippine Standards na nag-create ng mga standards, nag-create na po namin yung body dimensional specs for class 2 and 3. Katrabaho na po namin yung class 1 and 4 at yung pong sa electric vehicles. Number 5 po, in-modernize yung for the way the drivers will drive, at sila po kailan mag-undergo ng TESTA. Kung wala po sa TESTA certificate, we will not be given authorization to join the program. Ika-consolidate din po sila ang drivers operators, pero this time po, meron silang dapat safety officer to check not only on the condition of the vehicle, but also the condition of the driver. May financing program din po na available, nag-green po ng financing program available sa Truland Bank and DBP. Meron na po yung social support mechanism dahil sa mga drivers po magkakaroon na rin ng SSS, PhilHealth at Pag-ibig. Number 9 po is automatic fare collection system. Ang automated fare collection system po kailangan po yun ng mga financing institution para po makolekta nila yung daily amortization. Tapos kailangan po ng passenger yung insurance, speed limiter, at optional po yung CCTV, Wi-Fi, and GPS. So ito po yung program parameter, performance-based, there's a cap on the budget of the government. We have to commit to scalability of production capacity to more than double. There's a shared risk between government and program participants at time-bound po siya. May mga milestones that we have to accomplish. Yung platform po, no? Maximum po siya. Yan po yung chassis cab. Tanggalin nyo lang po yung flatbed sa likod. Yan po yung chassis cab, no? Maximum po participants po kukunin. Tapos meron pong local assembly ambition sa platform na mga more or less siguro ang proposal na right ay 50% localization sa platform, at there will be a beauty contest, pagandahan po, no? And the winner, 4 winners will be given 50% capex support. Sa body, ganun din po, naghiwalay siya, 4 na participants din, locally assembled, pero this time ang sa body po mas mataas yung localization, mga 70%.
Fast forward to the tax ano, kasi parang ito dapat sa DTI pinag-uusapan eh. Kasi we're not the deciding authority dito sa whether or not it will be accepted sa CARS program. Wala kaming say doon, no? Ang say kami doon sa tax implications. So, maganda naman yung programa, pero i-forward natin doon sa, let's focus on the tax provision sana.
Ito po yung tax, no? Hinihiling po namin na yung jeepneys substitute would remain. And then later on po we will request na yung definition ng jeepneys and jeepney substitute babaguhin po kasi luma na po yung definition ng jeepney, which I will show in my second presentation, second table po. It will be the Philippine utility vehicle para pag gumawa po kami ng any of the 4 classes, pasok po dun sa excise tax exemption pag pumasok po sa Philippine utility vehicle program yung aming produkto. So, pipilisan ko na lang po, no? Magkakaroon po tayo ng short days na pwede to prove that we can supply the industry. Ang requirement po ay proposal 20 PHs for opening franchising. Ang ating po financing scheme, 5% down payment, 6% interest rate, 7 years to pay. At all of 7 years, ang variable na po ang magmamang-ari ng kanyang chip. Ang basic price po from 1.1 million to 1.6 without aircon. Lahat po ay hindi pa po sigurado yung wala pa po kami presyo ng Euro 4 engine.
Sir. I just checked the bill. You're still there eh.
Saan po?
Sa House Bill. Andun naman kayo eh.
Sa House Bill po.
Huwag na tayo magsalita ng mahaba kung nandun na kayo eh. Diba?
Okay.
Parang gusto niya matanggal ba kayo dun eh. Diba? Maganda na yung House Bill. So we'll probably just adopt the House version.
We'll just go to the second slide na lang, sir. Yung aming gustong talaga, pag-table po. Nandun na po specifically kung anong gusto sa namin ni-request. Tinable na po namin siya. At yung ano na lang yung table. Yung pong Word file. Okay. Okay, ito na lang po. Sa section A po ba, sa definition ng automobile, sa SB 1408 po, pinarenthesis po yung single cab chassis, na-discuss na po natin yan. Sa House Bill po, hindi po siya ginalaw.
Nauna kasi yung SB 1408 Nauna yun. The more recent version is the House Bill 5636, which underwent the House. So, siguro, I'm sure the committee will look kindly on something that has already undergone deliberation by the other House.
Yung 5636 po.
So, let's put one more baga, di ba?
Doon po sa pangalawa, doon po naman sa pick-up po sa tinatanggal po yung pick-up as a truck. We have to retain the pick-up as a truck by definition.
Wala po natanggalin yun eh.
Nakaparenthesis po sa SB.
Yung nga, sabi ko lang na nauna yung SB, nahuli yung House Bill. So, ano na ba?
Okay, sige pa.
Let's close the discussion. Tapos na po kami. Para mapagapan yung ibang no? Kasi, para hindi naman tayo maganda yung programa, maganda yung opinion, nakikita po natin. Pero, hindi na tayo deciding authority sa CAR. We'll have to discuss it with the DTI and the BMI and the other decision makers.
Okay, marami po sir.
Kayo na lang. Anong tingin nyo naman? Siguro matapos na lang yung issue sa BOI at sa DTI. How do you view the proposal for the electric vehicles?
Bilib nga kami kay Mr. Cruz eh. Spokesman na yata ng DTI BOI eh. Hindi, aligned kami. Aligned daw.
So wala na pag-uusapan. Aligned ko pala ko. Hindi ko alam anong pinag-uusapan natin dito. Siguro mag-focus tayo sa mga disagreements, no? Let's focus on the issues which there are disagreements on. Any other, kasi nga this is the last and will be already finalized that portion of the bill. Mr. Tato, Philippine Parts Maker, sir.
Yes, good afternoon. I just would like to reiterate on the position of the auto parts makers. We support the increase on taxes, except that we would like to request that there would be a disparity between locally assembled units, which is what we call CKD, as opposed to the imported CBU or the completely built units. One example would be like, let's say for the first bracket, we're making the Mirage, but ultimately it would be imposed 4% excise. Tama po ba yan? So, ang habol lang namin, basta locally assembled, sana mas mababa, which is probably 3%. And then yung katapat niyang modelo na mga imported, pwede silang 4%. The reason being is because local parts makers are very dependent on, of course, the local assembly. And we would like to promote local manufacturing, and having such disparity in the excise tax would promote the sale of locally assembled vehicles. You were mentioning kanina about the 5% na mawawala. I believe, because we mentioned a while ago, out of 400,000, only 28% is locally assembled. If mawawala yung 5% because of the increase of excise tax, actually hindi maaapektuhan yung locally assembled eh. Maaapektuhan yan yung mga imported. Yung locally assembled will still be there, especially the locally assembled are the ones in the lower bracket, yung mababang presyo. So, kung mabibigyan pa natin ng incentive na mas mababa ang excise tax ng locally assembled, then we can really promote more local assembly.
I think the intention is to do that through subsidies, di ba? That's why may subsidies tayo sa mga local assembled, yung mga completely knocked down, di ba? Isn't that the philosophy behind it? It's not through the tax but through the subsidies that you give the assistance. Anong comment nyo dun sa sinabi ng Parts Vehicles Association?
Ang pinapropose po namin, Your Honor, yung pag-recognize na pwede nating gamiting industrial policy tool ang excise tax. Kamukha po ito ng ginawa ng Thailand kung bakit siya ngayon ang...
So you're in favor? You're in favor of having a different so ito two-tier natin pati yung...
Kung locally assembled ba or imported, yes, Your Honor. Ginagawa naman po yan ng ibang bansa.
Yusek, Chua.
It reminds me...
Makes it a bit more complex.
No, it reminds me, Mr. Chair, of our discussion on the SSB, yung 10 peso and 20 peso. So I'm not very confident that this may fly, and yes. So we have to check with our legal...
Check with the international lawyers, maybe. If
yes.
Let's ask the COMSEC
sir,
to
kaya po
send
kaya-
letters to the international. The
Sir?
same people who commented on the SSB issue. We can ask them. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Iba naman po itong program that we would like to develop. Kasi po, kaya kanina yung meron tayong Eco PUV modernization program, yun po safe yun, hindi tayo nagva-violate sa WTO. And yung susunod po na iniisip namin na pwede nating ituloy, gagamitin lang naman yung excise para dun sa mga kung magkakaroon ng CARS Part 2, magiging ganun din.
Doon sa tiering ng House Bill, there's 5 tiers, di ba? ASEC. May 5 tiers yun yung House Bill. Saan papasok ba yung mga PUVs na yon? Exempted sila. So, anong pinag-usapan natin dito sa excise tax?
Mr. Chair, actually
pag locally manufactured. So even if your argument is kahit private vehicle basta locally manufactured, must have special special rates.
Mr. Chairman, from our side sa DTI BOI side, ang pananaw namin, ang kailangan bigyan natin ng preference, if you like, no, ng break, yung local content ng locally manufactured vehicles. So kung halimbawa, itong usapin na to, Mr. Chairman, siguro kailangan pag-usapan na lang namin ng DOF when we go into the phase 2 of the program.
Sa incentives nyo pag-uusapan?
Sa incentives na lang namin pag-uusapan if
Okay.
USEC Chua will agree. Doon na lang natin harapin yung maraming tiering, magulo yun, Mr. Chairman, Hindi rin kami masyadong komportable ron.
Yeah,
Mr. Chair, just quick lang, baka makalimutan you mentioned earlier about hybrid, no? We will submit position paper also, just redefining or clarifying what hybrid is so that it will be included in the Senate bill.
Hybrid is already there. Nandun na yung hybrid, oh.
Yeah, we'll modify the definition because it may exclude.
How will you
some-
modify the definition?
Make it clear because the way it's written now,
it has to be able to charge for
plug-in lang siya
30 hours.
Yeah, plug-in lang. But the current hybrid that we have, it's a combination of hindi plug-in, but it's a hybrid. So
so what is your phrasing?
a combination of electric and engine, no? Without perhaps qualify yung
Why
run
did
of 30
we put
kilometers.
did that come from the house or from you?
We
Yusek?
consulted the experts. It's easy kasi to market a product that is hybrid, but it's basically 99% gasoline and 1% battery. So we decided in the house version to have some standards. That is why
And how did
the
you come up
charge-
with the 30 hours?
Will we consult? No, not 30 hours, but 30 kilometers.
Sorry,
in one
30
charge.
kilometers. 30
Yes.
kilometers, yeah.
But it's
Yusek, we can help you with the definitions because
you agreed, diba?
well, kasi ang definition actually, sir, mali. Ang definition niya is plug-in hybrid. Pero ang hybrid hindi sinasaksak yung fully hybrid. But ang hybrid can be defined also as mild hybrid and strong hybrid. So doon lang tayo sa strong. Yung sinasabi niyo yung mild na may konting ano lang Bibigyan na lang ho namin kayo ng magandang definition.
Yeah, are you open to Sige, pag-usapan niyo na lang then submit it to the committee po.
Mr. Chair, we're also offering our expertise to the USEC. We are the experts on automotive. We are willing to open our doors to your questions. Anytime, sir.
Mr. Chair,
Senator Gatchalian.
gusto ko lang matanong sa mga experts, yung hybrid, is it still ano pa ba yan? Is it something that countries are looking to promote? Because I read like sa UK, by 2030, wala nang combustible engine And then Volvo is also going to produce purely electric cars by 2030 also. So the direction really is going towards pure electric vehicles.
The overall plan, sir.
I haven't read anything about hybrid because ang direction talaga is pure electricity.
Yes,
So-
Senator. The overall plan is on the long generation step, we will go pure electric because we reached that tipping point on fuel supply of petroleum. The midterm is to have a transition vehicle, which we call the hybrid. Marami pong kombinasyon, as said by Romel, but for companies like us, we have what we call the Outlander PHEV, plug-in hybrid. We're selling hundreds of these in Ukraine, in Europe, and even Australia. Marami na po sa global market, except it has now to enter the Philippine market as available. But this is the transition product. The ultimate is pure electricity because this is supposed to be renewable energy.
For hybrid and e-vehicles, may mga incentives pang nakukuha ngayon as we speak?
Wala pa po.
Wala. So it competes just like any other combustible
Actually, yun nga, wala hong incentive, mas mahal ho ang electric vehicle. Kaya po, meron po kaming hiwalay na bill na nilalakad. Alam ho ni Senator Angara, yun ang electric vehicle and hybrid bill namin. Yun po.
In effect po, Senator, the Philippines is not ready for this. No?
Wala sa RE law? Alam ko meron sa RE law, but it's not explicit, I think.
Hindi po klaro. Pero tama po kayo, ang direction po talaga is full electric sa maraming bansa. Although iba't iba ho ang technology ng bawat car company, I understand sa Toyota ho yung fuel cell, they're pushing for fuel cell. Pero ang masasabi ko lang ho, ang hybrid ho kasama sa pamilya ng electric, kaya po kasama namin.
Spirit of simplicity which this bill is actually pushing for. Kung ma-phase out rin yung hybrid, then why are we...
Ay, matagal pa po. Matagal pa po.
2030,
completely.
mabilis na yun.
Sa ibang bansa po. Pero like katulad sa California ho ngayon, napakadami pa rin ho ng hybrid talaga. Opo. So parang magiging pareho rin ho ng ICE yan.
How long is the transition?
I would say we're still looking at about 20 years, sir. Opo.
Years transition from to fully electric. So, okay. So, ano na lang, mag-usap na lang kayo and come up with something that's fairly general and
Mr. Chair?
can withstand technology siguro.
Mr. Chair, baka ang
Senator Binay.
DOE may definition of
Yes, the
hybrid.
DOE. Please weigh in on this discussion. Yeah. Oh.
We have our position paper submitted to this committee, and we are supporting the incentives to be given to the alternative fuel vehicles, including hybrid, plug-in hybrid, and electric vehicles. So.
Thank you. But baka pwede kayong tumulong ho sa pag-formulate ng lingwahe po. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Mata.
Very quickly, total nagkakasundo naman silang lahat. Ang concern namin ay, okay naman po yan, susuportahan namin yan. Pero ang problema namin yung access ng mga current drivers natin na gusto natin mag-transition. Kung may 5% lang yan na down payment, hindi yan kakayanin eh. At saka in terms, baka magandang pag-usapan din natin sa bill, paano ho ba natin, total nag-usap na tayo kanina sa earmarking. Can we earmark part nung pondo para talaga sa matulungan yung mga jeepney drivers natin na mag-transition? Kasi otherwise, mawawalan ho sila ng trabaho at yung magiging next generation PUJ drivers and operators natin, mga korporasyon na at hindi na yung mga ordinaryo mamamayan.
Well, we're open to the idea, no? But let's hear what you said.
And finally, Mr. Chair, maaari ho bang matanong din, ang isang concern din kasi ng may mga jeepney drivers union din po kami, ang isang reklamo nila dun sa mga current na models ng electric jeeps, hindi ho tumatagal eh. Wala pa isang taon, wasak na eh. So wala namang gusto mag-invest sa ganyan kung hindi naman yan tatagal. So maaari ho bang malaman, ano ho bang level ng technology ngayon? At gaano ho ba ka-durable ngayon yung mga ganyan?
Napakaganda ho ng progress natin ngayon sa electric vehicles. Simula po nung lumabas yung news na ma-exempt sa excise tax ang electric vehicles, yung buong region ho pumunta rito at nagkaroon ho tayo ng kauna-unahang ASEAN EV Summit. Marami yung technology nilabas, yung mga charging station nandito na ho at magtatayo na sila ng mga charging station kahit wala pa ho yung mga sasakyan. At ang Korea ho, ang Japan, nagbigay na ho sila ng mga chassis cab sa amin na magagamit. Dito ho sa Eco PUB showcase natin sa October, ipapakita na ho yung mga prototype. Imbitahin ho namin kayo. Well, ano ho yan? Actually, yun hong sinupply namin sa Makati, 10 taon ho yun tumakbo eh. Opo. You can ask who the City of Makati. Ngayon lang yata na ipahinga eh. Pero alam niyo po, hindi po nasisira ang electric vehicle. Dapat siguro yung suspension lang yung masisira dyan. Yan.
Can I, Mr. Chair, just a
Yeah,
quick
Yusek, please.
response. You know, the tax reform really looks after the welfare of those who will be affected. In 2018, Mr. Mata, we already put in the budget 3.1 billion for the modernization program, which will fund subsidies to help drivers upgrade to modern Jeep, and also including in the definition of modern Jeep, electric ones. And then there is also 800 million allocated in unprogrammed funds.
Sino yung disbursing authority and approving authority?
DOTR,
DOTR.
Land Bank, and DBP. And then there's also 800 million in unprogrammed funds for social assistance to the public utility industry.
Sila mag-a-apply
Drivers.
if they're interested? Saan sila mag-a-apply? Sa Land Bank?
They will apply to Land Bank and DBP, and their 5% equity will be subsidized. So they will just, okay, may tatlo pong funding. Eh. Okay, 95% will be the amortization, 5% equity. So 5% would be around 70 to 80,000. Tatlo pa yung funding source. Number one is the subsidy from the tax reform. Number two is a scrappage value, which is around 30,000, we were told. Number three, out of pocket para may ownership din, that may contribution din kahit paano. So these are really part of the whole program, Mr. Chair.
How do you feel about allocating a certain portion dun sa modernization program?
Yes, in fact, we allocated in 2018
Dito sa specific, sa actual bill.
Oh well, I made my statement a while ago.
You'll get back to us on.
You know, the Mr. Chair, if I may just explain again. You know, we are for the to show a very good link between the tax and the budget. The problem in the past was we legislate a tax measure with earmarking, but then sometimes it can last forever, 10 years, 20 years. So we're just concerned about the flexibility that the budget could give. But with the suggestion of Senator Drilon to have percentages and to have limited time, this is something we could be amendable to. Yes.
That's good. Please let us know. Any other comments from the body? Okay. Gusto nyo, kayo na lang mag-usap eh. Sige, go ahead.
No, Mr. Chair, may claim lang po. And thank you very much for that clarification, Yusek. No? Pero yun po nga yung gusto namin sanang, actually gusto namin talaga makipag-usap sa kanila. Yun po natin kailangan na clarify. No? Sa tingin po namin, yung 5% na kahit na i-subsidize pa ninyo, hindi pa rin magiging accessible yan sa maraming mga mamamayan natin. So kailangan natin pag-usapan yon, no?
Acceptable figure for you. Kung unacceptable yung 5%.
Mas mataas. Anything that's higher than 20% is at the minimum of 20% sana ang pinag-usapan natin. Pero yung proposal nga ho sana
20% subsidy from the government. May
yung
monetary
terms,
figure ba yun?
Tapos yung terms po sana, mas mababa sana yung interest rates nga para talagang lumabas na may pagka boundary hulog na schema ang mangyaring transition ng mga tao.
So what are you suggesting? Kung 20% plus how many years to pay?
Well, yung last na usap po namin ay anywhere from 7 years, no, hanggang sa 10 years. Pero yun, open ho kami na mapag-usapan yan. Basta
Pero yung 20% gusto nyo grant yon sa inyo?
Opo.
Okay.
Yeah. As much as possible, we want to help. 220,000 jeeps, 1.5 million per new jeep, diba? So 20% of that 300,000. 300,000 times 200.
Teka, di ako nakakasunod. Can you slow down? We're not all geniuses, Yusek Carl.
No,
please.
Neither am I. No, I'm just saying there are 220,000 jeeps that need to be replaced.
Okay.
On average, the modern jeep with the GPS, the automated fare collection, the redesign is 1.5 million. 20% subsidy is 300,000. 300,000 jeeps. 300,000.
What is the 300? Sorry.
300,000 is a 20% of the 1.5 million, the cost of the modern Jeep. Times 300,000 times 220,000, I will compute. 60 billion. is 66
billion. But that's not one fell swoop naman, di ba? Ano yun?
It's,
over time, di
yes.
ba? So, ano naman pwedeng?
Well, this is now where we now have to balance and prioritize all competing.
What, ano yun, Mr. Mata? In lieu ba yun? You would prefer that in lieu of the, yung, ano ba tawag doon? Transportation transfers, parang ganon? Parang,
Yung pong ino-offer po nila na pantawid pasada, temporary lang po yun eh.
Di kaya nga, so mas okay ba sa inyo na tanggalin na yung pantawid pasada, yung pera para doon, ilipat na lang dito sa okay sa inyo yun?
Tingin ko dapat ho pag-usapan ng mga kasama ko yun sa jeep, no?
Pag-usapan nyo, para sabihin nyo sa amin ano yung
mahalaga pong punto ngayon, kailangan pong masiguro na sila mismo ang lalabas din na magdadrive ng mga modern jeepneys dahil sa kasalukuyang disenyo ng programa ng gobyerno po natin, mukhang ang pakiramdam nila, sila po ay balak i-ease out. Dahil no original po na nilabas ng DOTR yung kanilang DO's draft, ang gusto nila mangyari ay pwede lang bigyan ng franchise yung mga tao may kapasidad na magmay-ari ng 10 jeep. Hindi ho ganyan yung problema, hindi ho ganyan ang sitwasyon.
That's anti-poor.
Opo, at kaya nga po nag-transport strike. 2 beses po kami nag-transport strike and that's the time na dinrupt nila yung provision na yun. But now,
so wala na yun, wala na yung...
Sa ngayon po, wala. Pero yung lengguwahe po ng DO pa rin is that it's encouraging yung ownership ng mga korporasyon. Kaya nga, gusto naming masiguro na sila mismo yung magta-transition.
Anti-small business naman yun. But anyway, can you consult your members and come back to the committee and tell us, para malaman natin ano ba talagang prioritization natin sa gastusin, di ba? Ano yung, para ma-increase yung acceptability ng mga bagong buwis.
We'd be happy to do that, Mr. Chair.
Let us know. Sana within the next few weeks. Para.
Thank you po, Mr. Chair.
Salamat. Any other comments from the senators, from the body na hindi pa na-discuss? Yusek, yeah.
Chair, a while ago there were of course concerns about how this program would affect the jobs, the industry. If I may just clarify, I think if everyone could look at it as a package, then I think it will address many of the concerns. The second is, we have a lot of experience in the past wherein we liberalized telecoms, airlines. Of course, what happened before was PLDT and PAL objected because of their jobs and all, but this is really the process wherein everyone now can travel and have a cell phone. So I'm hoping people can look at it from the bigger perspective, the package, the bigger
What is the connection dun sa breaking up monopolies
Well,
dito?
the connection is
but yung point niya is parang you're encouraging consolidation of ownership, eh, diba? You're not reacting to that point?
No, this is in relation to previous
we're
concerns
really
about
see it as a package,
the automobile industry being affected, losing jobs. But if given the, if they can understand that, we're also giving back to the people a lot in immediate money through lower income tax and also the services and infra that perhaps can more than offset some of these concerns. So that is, Mr. Chair. Now on the original proposal, yung land bank naman po allows borrowing by individuals. It is DBP that would need a cooperative because of there's prudential measures then to ensure the viability po of these banks. Otherwise, it may also be difficult to lend if the bank's capital is constrained by non-compliance. So these are, at least may dalawang model naman. Land bank can lend to individuals, DBP to cooperatives.
Okay. Yeah, Senator Gatchalian.
Mr. Chair, meron ba tayong kasama sa DOTR?
We invited them, but they've moved their office to Clark. So, para di na sila makapag-attend ng mga Senate hearings.
Magiging problema na tayo. Magiging problema yan, Mr. Chair, dahil every time may hearing tayo, dapat 1 month in advance para makaluwas sila dito.
Kasi mahirap daw bumiyahe. Mahirap ang transportation.
No, in any case, Yusek, when looking at the prices, definitely the added excise tax will increase some of the prices, some a lot, some minimal. In your opinion, will this dampen demand of vehicles?
Mr. Chair, Senator Gatchalian, not at all, because if I may summarize the position we have given, first, this is a very fast-growing economy with a population growth of 2 million Filipinos per year. So there's a very strong demand. Poverty, unemployment, underemployment are falling. Number 2 is we are giving back to the people an unprecedented 140 billion in bonus from lower income tax, which will create.
Let's clarify that statement, Yusek. No, it's you're giving back 140 billion to 4 point something. How many 4 point taxpayers and their families? So it's not exactly the whole people. No,
sir.
But the taxes that we're imposing
The money
are a bit
will.
more
There's multiplier.
wide.
There's a very good multiplier effect. 90% of that money will be spent. It will create jobs, new industries, and will translate to indirect effects. So we are confident about this. Number 3, Senator, is there are also many other factors.
Incidentally, Yusek, I'm sorry again to interrupt, but we might lose the thought. Is there a study as to, since you mentioned the multiplier effect, how much the incremental revenue will be for the government for those from that multiplier? Meron ba tayong ganon? I don't think that has been factored into the revenue at all.
We did.
Could you give us some figures for that?
In our detailed table that we have submitted to your staff, it incorporates.
So magkano ang additional taxes na makokolekta ng gobyerno dun sa 140 na bibigay natin?
If I may just simplify the calculation, 140 billion, 90.
One figure, one figure.
I have to explain.
You can explain after giving the figure. You can give the figure and then we'll say, because hindi siya na-factor in dun sa ano eh. Kasi baka malula rin kami sa numero. I think everyone understands that if you give money to households, they will spend it. When they spend, the government will collect VAT. So magkano yun? Magkano yung additional collections?
Okay, on the VAT, it is around 10 billion. May I explain why? Okay. 140 billion, 90% will be spent, 10% will be saved. Of the 140 times 0.9 is around 126 billion. Half of that is vatable because half of the purchases are not the food. These are not vatable. So divided by 2, more or less, times the VAT rate. So this is around 8 billion.
Any other taxes that you feel you will be able to collect because of the 140 from the multiplier? Aside from VAT.
Well, VAT is the the biggest one because it is an across-the-board tax. However, should we do the, should we proceed with the expansion of the VAT base, then this will of course increase. And these are, Mr. Chair, factored in the computation that we have provided.
Just to continue my question, I think lahat naman tayo nag-agree na itong mga sasakyan, most of this middle class ang bumibili, middle low, and of course yung mga mahal mas mayayaman yung bumibili. But if you ask anyone, if you do an informal survey, yung mga tao bumibili ng sasakyan dahil bulok yung ating mass transportation system. I mean, that's a given, no? I mean, in our city in Valenzuela, kung may perang isang tao, that's the first thing they buy because ang hirap mamasahe. And the reason why I asked for the presence of DOTR is, it's discouraging na until now, yung 42 na bagon na binili ng DOTR, hanggang ngayon hindi nagagamit. No? If one of the reasons why we are doing this is to decongest our streets, minahalam mo na yung sasakyan, hindi mo inayos si mass transit, ang kawawa dito yung mga commuters natin na ang only saving ang only pwede nilang gawin para guminhawa yung buhay nila, bumili ng sasakyan. This is actually for the middle class is a lose-lose situation, no? On their daily activities, no? Commuting to work. So I just want to manifest that, Mr. Chair, because DOTR is giving us false hope in fixing the mass transportation system. But yung bagon na binili natin na halos 2 taon na yata nandito, hindi naman gumagana, no? So
very good point by Senator Gatchalian. It reinforces what we said earlier. Kaya nga yung tao medyo nanghihinayang sa pagbayad ng bagong buwis. Kasi nga wala silang nakikitang pag-improve dun sa sitwasyon sa transportasyon. So the best argument for purchasing 50 new cars for the MRT is to have one car or one train that really works, di ba? Yun ang pakita natin sa kanila na the money will go to a good purpose. That's why we're suggesting earlier, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Binay, Senator Julon supported the idea that we earmark the money that we're collecting from the automotive taxes to public transportation and specific projects para makita ng tao na talagang hindi nasasayang yung pera. Yun Yun ang,
Chair, the only way we can decongest is really invest in mass transportation, but there are low-hanging fruits eh. Kagaya yung bagon na yan. It's been there, no? Sitting in the warehouse, and it's so hard to explain to people when you go out and talk to the middle class. Alam nila tataas yung presyo, pero nakita nila kahaba-haba yung pila.
Tatlong oras sila pumipila. So, any other points? That's a very good point. I think it reinforces the earmarking argument, to be honest. No? So, any other points from the body? Yeah, Asek Aldaba.
Sir, dun po sa tanong kanina ni Senator Gatchalian, yung incentives for EV, meron pong EO 488, duty-free importation ng mga parts for EV manufacturing. And sa BOI Investment Priorities Plan, listed din po siya, including yung charging infrastructure.
Any other comments? If not, we'll suspend the meeting and then so antayin na lang po namin yung inputs ng industriya ng local assemblers along with the CAMPI and the use inaasahan na lang namin na mag-uusap kayo to come up with better language. No, if not, we'll just adapt what the House passed with respect to that language for the e-vehicles. No, so if no other, thank you very much. Salamat, Yusek. Salamat sa lahat po. Thank you for your time, your thoughts. Maraming salamat po.